Well, now that that's not a problem, we're gonna not do that. HD Web Pro. Okay. My day was good, man. My day was good. It was busy. It was busy, but it was good. It was good. Can't complain. What about you? How was your day? You know what? I'm just gonna bring you up here. This way we can just have a casual conversation while I get started, setting everything
Yeah,
up.
very informal, man. Had a busy day. Hope it
Yeah.
was a good one, though.
Well, what was busy about it? What'd
Another
you do?
day to live.
What'd you do? What'd you do? What'd you do that was so
I was
busy?
also busy, man. Also busy at work. You know how we are. You know how we stay hustling, stay grinding.
That's true. That is true.
A lot of site visits, a lot of client communications. What's on your mind?
Um,
How's everything apart work from work?
apart from work, I mean, the family life is a little complicated. I have a wonderful ex-wife that I love. I shouldn't say that. I can.
Yeah.
It's
No,
it's
no,
always
I understand,
interesting
man.
in Paradise
I
City.
understand.
But hey, you know what?
Yeah.
All you can do is just enjoy every day because ain't got time to waste on other shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, and you love what you do too, right? So I feel like a lot of good entrepreneurs, a lot of good businessmen enjoy what they do. And so these things happen in life sometimes, but you gotta move past it and continue to do what you love.
I'm
And like you
definitely
said, enjoy
blessed with
everything.
the fact that I enjoy what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
It's a blessing. You gotta look for those blessings sometimes, Gotta look through all the hard times.
Oh, my boy Ray is here. Okay, let's bring Ray up here. Bam. Get him up here.
How's it going, Ray?
How you doing? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, buddy.
Can you hear you well? Yeah.
All right, let's turn on the camera. Let's get this show on the road if we can. Let's see. Let's see. Let me see if I got this figured out. There we go.
USA
How you
Ray.
guys? How you guys doing?
Doing good, brother.
Awesome, awesome. Good to see you, man. Haven't seen you in some time, so
I know. I've been watching your socials though. You've been busy. You've been busy.
we're working, man. I've been working. I haven't announced it yet, but I will be speaking this year.
I know. I know.
At,
Go ahead. Tell it. Say it.
Whereabouts? Family?
yeah, I'll be speaking at the Toronto Multifamily Real Estate Conference, the biggest real estate conference in Canada. So I'm
Nice.
excited.
That's huge, man. What's your Yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy, dude.
that's
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Your phone's cutting in and out, but I don't know if it's on my end. But I appreciate it. I'm excited to be there, and hopefully I can add some value um, to um, to everyone there. We'll be talking about investing in the U.S., freedom through investing in the U.S.
Mhm.
Um, Exciting topic, man.
So let's talk. I guess you know what? Because everybody doesn't know you and everybody doesn't follow you. So we record this and then we post it on YouTube again afterwards, just so
Yeah,
so
for
so
sure.
you're aware. Um, so yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us like the Ray rundown in like under 2 minutes, and then we'll
Sure.
we'll dive
So
into what's going on now.
yeah, so Ray Glimp, I have over 100 doors, and the story is I was homeless. I mean, I started from nothing. This is the true American dream, from homeless to over 100. I think I have about like 120, 140 doors. We don't keep track anymore. There's no syndication, no fundraising. I did it all by myself, and pushed through and persevered. So, um,
Damn, dude.
it's yeah, it's been an amazing
like
journey. There's so much I've learned in doing this, whether it be the construction aspect of it, to the property management aspect of it, um, to, development, to purchasing properly, putting systems in
mm,
place. hoping to just add a
Mhm.
ton of. I've won several awards in my local area in the U.S. NAACP, 40 under 40, tons of awards. But my biggest thing is creating freedom for and being able to help others create freedom for themselves.
Wow.
It's
Well,
beautiful, man.
Ray, way to set the bar real high, buddy. Congrats, dude. No, it's cool. You know what? You know what's cool about your story is that you started from the bottom, right? Like there's so many
Yeah.
people that don't really have that bottom story. Like especially in this industry, I find there's a lot of, money from money, and
Hmm.
it it's nice to hear these stories, and because you started with nothing, right? Which just gives vision to other people. Like, dude, it's not like money helps, obviously. I'm sure where you are today and you started from where you are today, you'd be a lot further along, but it's not impossible. Being wealthy is not fucking rocket science. And I tell people that all the time, man. I like the bigger and bigger rooms I get into. Like I started my rental company from the ground up, and I've grown my business. And same thing, I go into these big businesses thinking like, okay, I'm gonna learn that secret recipe, you know, KFC secret recipe, and you go in and you're like, man, these guys are doing the same shit I'm doing, and it's
Yeah.
like cool, and it's
Yeah.
also
I mean, just
disheartening. I'm always like, oh man, there's like this thing that's gonna just take me to that next level, but like I haven't found it. It's just persevering and just keep doing what you're doing and getting
yeah.
better.
And
So very cool. So
everything,
go ahead.
but you could enjoy the journey as well, right? Ray, do you feel like I don't know? I know it was super difficult, and I really commend you for it. But throughout that whole process of all the different stages that you've gone through, you've enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, I mean the journey is the most beautiful part of it. Looking back and understanding, like, man, if I'll give you an example too. I had a call with a gentleman today, and at the end of the conversation, he was like, man, he called me super stressed. At the end of the conversation, I met this guy twice. At the end of the conversation, he was like, Ray, I just want to tell you, man, I love you because you made me feel so much better about whatever situation you had going on. But I clearly explained to him, hey, look, man, this is just one step on your journey, right? You feel better, but your journey or whatever your hardship is, like there may be people on these calls that may be going through things, but that is your development. That hardship is your development, and it'll make you better if you persevere and push through it. So when I look at things like this, and my situation that I've been through, the journey is what made me who I am today.
Yeah, no, everybody I find that I've talked to, like a lot of like self-made guys or people like that, didn't start from a lot. They went through something. I don't know, like there's a lot of military guys I know, because man, in the military, I'm from the military, man, they beat the piss out of you. They make you operate in stressful conditions, and you just got to do it because you got no other
Yeah,
choice, right? And I find like in situations kind of like yourself when you're out on the streets and it's on, you got nothing else to do, you have to do it, you just got to figure it out. And that's what
yeah,
makes some really successful people, where a lot of this corporate, like, oh, let's talk about it, or you know what, let's have a meeting about this decision, right? Like, man, you like that's what ruins a lot of companies and people, man. They just wait around and deciding, and in real estate, when people are choosing to invest, we always talk about like paralysis analysis. People looking at deals, looking at another deal, looking at another deal, but they never pull the trigger, man.
Mm.
Just got to pull the trigger, make the mistakes, trip, fall, just get back up, and then just keep going, right?
yeah, yeah. We find that so much too. Um, the biggest reason I see that people don't execute is they scared to buy, right? They're scared to execute. Most people are scared to. How many people do you know that want to get into real estate? They have the money, right? They've had good deals, but they're just scared, right? They don't have. There's nothing that has pushed them, right? There has to be something that pushes you. For most humans, some of most like myself, I'm motivated by myself, but some people need that push, right? And so there
Mm.
has to be something that pushes most people to say, you know what, I'm going to do this. And sometimes in real estate, some people need that. I see people that go to conferences. I see the same people at every conference,
Yeah.
right? They follow conference to conference. They just get an education, but the education doesn't change. They need to change. They need somebody to put a foot behind them and say, "Let's go," right? And just get it. Just get on a bicycle, right? Start pedaling. So most people need that push.
Oh yeah, I know, I agree. And like I said, I find like people who have gone through situations or have been experienced some rough patches in their life really just know how to pull up their socks and go, right? Because you had no
Yeah,
choice at that point, right? You were pushed to the complete opposite edge where you had nothing to do but just go and do something about it. Yeah, it's funny. We did a property tour this weekend, and then there was this lady who was like, I've been looking at deals, and I don't know which deal to pick. And I was like, just pick any one that's gonna
yeah,
make you $1. Who cares about how much money? Like, just get it done. Just do one. She's like, I know, but I've been thinking, like, do I house hack?
Yeah.
Do I do this? I'm like, just pick one. Pick a number. Say you want to make 5%, and just fucking do that deal. Because if you do
yeah.
that deal,
Mhm.
you'll be ready for the next deal. And
And that
Exactly.
uh have
Numbers instead of just
yeah, having proper mentorship, man. I'll key in with that too. Like I think that's the biggest thing. When I educate and teach my students, I tell them, the first thing is, hey, define your buy box. Know exactly from the beginning, hey, this is my purchase price. This is what I want to be at. This is the type of real estate I want to have. We define that from the beginning. So by the time you find something, you already know what you're looking for, right? It's just if the numbers make sense, and then I'm gonna buy it. That's it. So being around the right people and having a proper mentorship will help you streamline that full process.
yeah, no, that's
Mhm.
good. I like that you focus on.
These are
There's a
really
couple of
easy
guys
things.
I know too that they focus on just the first steps, like you're saying, like put your like the perfect house that you want or the one that's going to meet your criteria and then go looking because everybody gets so
Yeah,
hot and horny. You go to the multifamily conference and you go to this conference and that conference and everybody gets excited, whoever the speaker is, whatever they're taught, whether it's like wholesaling or flipping or burring or buying into big multifamily deals. Every single time those same people walk out super excited and then you check in on them in like a month from now and they're like, yeah, I'm going to the next conference, there's more cool stuff coming out. No,
yeah,
that's really cool. And I love, dude, that you do renos, that you've done a lot of the renos. You're very very involved in that aspect. um
100%.
because I find like when I went to the multifamily conference, like I didn't do any social media or I didn't do too much networking with investors. I just kind of lived in my own bubble, just through the workload that I got just from being involved in certain people with certain people. And I met everybody at the multifamily conference, and every single person was like, Taco, can you tell us more about the renos? Because everybody
Hmm.
goes over budget on the renos, or everything goes to
Yeah.
shit on the renos. But all of
Hmm.
these coaching programs and all of these, nobody covers the renos. And what I like about your social media and like what you're doing is you cover a lot of the stuff. You're in the
Yeah.
shit.
And it's a part, like if you're gonna burr property, or I mean, even if you got a tenant moving in and out, if I purchased, we have like I got an 8 unit building I purchased. I got it for steel, man, and I still have tenants that I've had from day one. I got to renovate that property. Those are costs that I need to save for. So I make sure that if, in my budget I have that, and then eventually that I'm ready to execute and save on those.
Yeah. Yeah, no, man. It's so important. When I talk to a lot of investors, I'm like, what's the typical life cycle of your portfolio? And they're like, what do you mean life cycle? I'm like, well, when is a tenant gonna leave and you're
Yeah,
gonna have to do something to that unit? Like, what is that average? Is it 5 years? Is it 2 years? What's the average in your portfolio? And they're like, I have no fucking idea. You
yeah.
mean you mean
So
they move out after I move them in? Like everybody's so excited on the renovate, get it rented, refinance, and then that's it. That's where it
yeah,
stops. Buy the next one. But like that property still exists. Those problems are still gonna exist. Your furnace is gonna go. Your boiler's gonna go. Your AC is gonna go. You're gonna have a leak. You're gonna have this shit. But if you're not
yeah.
putting some contingency or some plan, I'm like, what's the cost of your average turnover? They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you should factor in that you're gonna have to do something. Like a tenant isn't
Vacate
gonna live there 2 years.
years. That all plays a part.
Right? Plan for it, and they don't teach that. They don't. I've
Yeah,
been in a bunch of coaching programs. I've seen the stuff that gets taught,
yeah,
and I'm sitting there and I'm like,
yeah.
okay, cool. Thanks for teaching me how to fill out the Excel spreadsheet. But what about the rest? that's a
Yeah.
real estate investing, which I find like a lot of investors have a hard time, and it's because the education isn't in depth.
Yeah. And so that's what I make sure with my students too. I like my coaching is not just, we offer just the coursework and I'm very in depth in the coursework, but every Tuesday, but right before this call, every Tuesday, I actually hop on and we coach for free, right? Not just my students, but other people, just people who want to join. We coach for free of like, hey, come learn with us about, real estate. Today I just got off the call. We were talking about how to comp properties and look at ARVs for properties. We're giving that information out there, and a lot of people they're skimming the surface, right?
Yeah.
But we're really trying to go in depth. Like you mentioned, a lot of people have these courses. Their goal is just to sell to you, right? Most of them aren't really living that lifestyle.
Mm.
You know, they're not going out there doing rehabs. They're not checking on developers. They're not, you know, they don't know what flooring they're putting in. Most of them aren't even doing. I saw a guy selling a course the other day. He had 10 units. He had one 10-unit apartment building. This guy selling a course. It's like hilarious. But and you get that's who you get your information from. You're doing yourself a disservice. So make sure that you talk to multiple people, before you even find a mentor. Make sure that they give you value for free. The stuff I put on my Instagram, that's free.
Yeah.
I'm showing you like, yo, this is a day in my life. I post when I go to my triplex. Hey, look, I'm going to my triplex, checking on my guys. I'm seeing what they're doing. I might be the one painting the wall someday for all I know, So I'm making sure that like, yo, this is really a part of what real estate's about. It's just not like, hey, I'm gonna get this property, rent it out, and that's it.
There's no sunshine and rainbows, no just cash money and that's it. I can sleep.
Nah, it could be right, and some of the freedom does come. But it's not 100%, right? Um, there are things that come up that you got to be prepared for. You have that turnover. When that turnover is going to come, you don't even know sometimes. You could have a tenant. I have tenants that have been with me for 8 years since day one, and then I have tenants that they might up and leave in 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. I might have a tenant die. I had 2 tenants, 3 tenants have died. One old age, one like a heart complication, but it's just things that happen. And so like you have to plan for that. Okay, this tenant dies, but now I got to get the place cleaned out. What's on the carpet? Do I got to rip the carpets up? Do I got to put new flooring in? This is stuff that nobody talks about.
Yeah, no, I agree. I no, dude, I like when I met you and we chatted, I connected with you, and then when I started watching your socials and stuff like that, and like stuff you're posting is you're posting the real side, right?
Yeah,
Like the,
yeah,
not the glamour. The like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm checking up on my shit. I'm going here. I'm going there. Not just shooting. But like, hey guys, I'm shooting content today. Send me questions on like what you want me to answer for you, right? Like you're out there doing it and learning it and living it, right? Which is what's cool to see. And I love that you give out free value. Like this is why this community is a free community. We have 350 members. We go live like this almost every single day. Like Monday, we usually go live. This Monday was President's Day and Family Day in Canada, so we didn't go live yesterday. But today we're live. Tomorrow at noon, we go live with a realtor named Arrow. He runs numbers. He'll run numbers on properties. He'll pull a deal on the market, run the numbers, and give like a breakdown on the project. And then Wednesday evenings, I go on with this company called Property Hustlers, and they're like big flippers. That's all they do. So we chat a lot more around the flip side of renovations. And then on Thursday, our architect goes on and he talks about zoning, permitting process, like hurdles with that shit. And then that's what we're doing. So we're trying to build out this online community so that people can like get a good instead of like getting your feet wet, like get a good swim in the water, right? Like get wet, get really soaked in, and being like, okay, this is what I want to do in real estate, right? Because
yeah,
it's so vast and it's so easy to
yeah.
get caught up on the marketing.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. I know this. Hopefully, for everybody here, that it adds value to not only the community but the people that are outside of the community. Maybe they'll share it, and somebody else will see this and take shape.
Yeah, well, we clip them up and then we'll post reels and stuff like that with it. So I got some questions for you about the U.S. because
Sure.
we're Canadian. So tell us, where are you investing in the U.S.? What's hot in the U.S.? Give us the lowdown out there from your
Um,
experience, obviously.
so you have your bigger markets. You have your Florida, Texas. California is not the place to be. New York City is not the place to be. New Jersey, not the place to be. New York State, there are some places and some pockets that are good investments. Um, but people are right now investing in Midwest. Um, Midwest is hot right now. Then you have Texas, depending on where you go. So there are some pockets to invest in. I'm in West Virginia, Pittsburgh area. Um, if you want, I'll give you your top 5 areas to invest in. I'll give you guys that. It would be, and not in any order. Florida is still hot, right? Florida is going to grow. We think Texas is still good. Ohio market, great market, right? We have the Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh specifically market, and Charlotte market. Those are your top 5 markets. If I'm an investor from out of state, I'm looking to put my money there.
Oh, nice. We hear a lot about Ohio here in Canada because I think it's guys are we're starting to trickle over a lot now, a lot more because it sucks here in Canada. Like the
Oh yeah,
deals that I'm seeing on your side of the fence, and I'm like, wait, you bought what for what? Like it's insane.
dude.
And
I'm gonna show you guys. Let me see if I while we're on this call, I'm gonna show you guys when I come to the conference. I actually have it pulled up right here, which is pretty awesome. Let me see. I want to show you this. This house, right? Let me see. I don't know how to flip my camera around on this. So, okay, here we go. Can you see my computer?
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I
See this
bought
house?
this house right here
Yeah.
for $25. Right.
25?
$25,000. Rehabbed it for another $25,000. As you can see, it rents right now $1,300. That's deal flow. Right now,
I'm hurt right now,
cash
by the
flow
way.
property.
I'm hurt right now.
Huh?
I said I'm hurt right now.
Yeah, I mean, but those are the deals. And like, there aren't deals like that in every market, but for me, when I'm purchasing, I'm looking at like 50 to 100,000, depending on what class of property, 50 to 100,000 per unit for residential. Right. But if I buy a single family, I might be at like 200 to 300, depending on what area I'm in.
Damn.
I got some crazy stats for you guys when I come speak. I know the average house here is about 400K. So it is cheaper to purchase here. We got fixed debt, huge here. I know my payment's going to be next 5 years, 10 years. It's huge for us. So there are tons of reasons to get into investing in the U.S. for sure.
No, yeah, this is like I have a couple projects that I'm wrapping up, and then once I'm done, I'm going I'm going over
I'll
there.
tell you, I live on a lake, and a Canadian company owns the lake. Like the money from there is coming here.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
see it. I see it. Like I've seen it. Like I've watched these guys show their deals and like put. I mean, even that thing that you just showed me right now, like 25K. Like take my
Yeah.
money all day. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And it's cash flowing. It's been cash flowing this deal. I think this is one of my first ones I bought about 8 years ago.
That's amazing, dude.
Crazy.
It is crazy. And there's so much, such a bigger market down there too, right? It's not like here where it's like, it's so tiny, it's so small. I probably met like 95% of the real estate investors in 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 Canada, right? Just
Yeah.
by being on social media. Forget about how crazy
Mm-hmm.
it is over there and how much more knowledge you guys have down there. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's a lot more. There's just more over there, right? Which is what's really
Yeah.
cool about the U.S., man.
And I'll tell you, when I went down to that conference that we were at last year, I started telling people like my story, and they're like, "Man, like you got how many?" I think at that point I had like 40 or 50 doors or 60 doors or something like that. And they were like, "Dude, like what? How?" And it was just like I never knew the difference of investing there versus investing here until I went to that conference, and it was like, "Holy smoke! Like, I would never go to Canada to invest ever."
Uh,
You know, I love to visit there, beautiful place, but I'm not going to invest there.
No, dude, I totally get it. There's a lot of us that are with you, but there's also a lot of us that are scared and timid and like, Forget about investing in real estate. Now investing in real estate on the other side of a different country is even scarier. But yeah, man, that's crazy. And the wholesale deals that you guys can like the pipeline that gets created because there's so many more lists out there where here you can't like get lists like you can get down there, right? Like
Yeah, cold calling, door knocking. I got a special group that I'm a part of that they just, I mean, that's all they specialize on is just wholesaling, right? I buy. I'll give you an example. I just one of my guys, he's a wholesaler. I just bought a deal from him. This was 75,000 was the deal. It's a triplex, so I paid 25,000 a unit again. After rehab, we'll be at about. I think we got another 75 for the rehab budget, so I'll be into this thing 150
yo, Ray,
for a triplex.
I don't think we can talk anymore, man. I don't want to talk to you. Killing me,
It's
bro. No, it's cool. It's cool.
so
This is exciting, man. This is why I kind of like wanted to bring you
yeah,
on because you're like we have a lot of Canadians talking about deals in the US and but they're like, they're just across the border or they're like, nobody's really in it like you're in it, right? Like you live there.
yeah,
You've been investing in there. You grew your portfolio from 0 to 100
yeah,
out there, so you have like the firsthand experience and I like that. Like that's what I'm trying to avoid, like having the same 10 people speaking on a stage and sharing the same goddamn information. I want to show
yeah,
people there's lots of different people that are out here doing it and being very, very successful at it. And like I said, it's not rocket science, man. It's just like you said, you need somebody to push you out the door and just go and do it, and then you'll
yeah.
you'll
Got to
learn.
be with the right too, man. And I encourage anybody here, I guess, listening, tuning in, drop a question, DM me, shoot me a message. I'm open book. I'll follow you back. I'll answer your question. I answer all my DMs. You got to put yourself out there if you really want to do this. If you really want to learn and you want to get into this scale, the deals are there though, bro. The deals are there. This one, I think one of my students, my students, they work all the time finding deals. One of my students, she just got a deal for 80,000. Right, it's a single family home. She got a deal for 80,000. It's turnkey, and she'll rent it. I think the number was about like 12 or 1300. It's velocity of money, right? And so when we talk about real estate, investing in these pockets in these areas, like I mentioned, your money works at a faster velocity, right? So the more money you get in, the more money you should be able to get out and invest in something else, right? And grow that portfolio,
That's
right?
amazing. You said you had students. What are like your big three like things to tell your students, and what are three lessons that you tell your like mistakes that you tell your students never to make?
Um,
I know I'm kind of
all
putting you
right,
on the
so
spot, but
that's a double-sided question. So let me start with the first thing. The top three things I tell my students. Number one is define your buy box. From the beginning, you need to know this is the type of property I want to buy. This is my budget. This is how I want it to look. These are the type of people I'm going to rent to. You got to define your buy box. Number two is to stay disciplined, right? Don't shift out of that buy box. There are deals that have come up that don't really align with what you want, but sometimes you just want to find a deal, want to find a deal. Not every deal is a deal, right? So you got to make sure we analyze deals. Just like working out or being a contractor or doing something, you don't get good at it on your first time, right? It takes practice. So we analyze deals constantly, right? We're making sure we get the most cash on cash return for that velocity. That's the key to it. Um, and number three is just to execute. Don't buy scared, right? One of my mentors, his name is Thatch. I don't know if you ever heard of Thatch.
yeah,
Thatch
no,
Wayne.
yeah, I follow Thatch. Thatch is I like him.
Yeah,
He's a funny guy.
that's my guy. Yeah, and so he called me one day, he called me and he was like, "What advice would you give?" And that really resonated with him was don't buy scared. And as we talked about earlier, so many people see deals, they analyze and like, "Oh, this is a good deal," and then they just get stuck, not knowing like, "Hey, this is the next step. This is what I really need to do to push this deal through." So don't buy scared. If you've analyzed it, you've done the footwork, the groundwork, buy it, right? And just execute from the principles that you've been taught. So those are the things. For my lessons that I teach my students, like the top three, buying in the US is totally different. And so I tell them one, you can't change the neighborhood, right? Unless you buy the whole block. It's possible, right? Right now I'm working on a project, the one I've been posting, our goal is to buy that whole block. right? But you can't change the neighborhood. So that house I showed you,
Hmm.
I spent more money on it than I should have on a rehab. I spent more money on a purchase price than I should have, right? So I share that with my students because that was something, I paid 25 for it. I probably could have got it for 15, right? I spent 25 in rehab, probably could have did the rehab for 15, right? You can't change the neighborhood. So if you're buying in a C neighborhood and you put an A house there, it's not going to change it,
Yeah.
you know? I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I teach my students. Um, Patience, analyze the deal, and execute from there.
Oh, that's awesome. That's freaking good advice, man. I love the buy box. That is like that. I I, I don't use the term buy box. I'm definitely gonna steal it from you. But it's something for sure, man. Like that is something that you really need to understand as an investor. Like figure out what it is you're trying to buy and then go chase it instead of like looking at all these because you get that shiny object syndrome right there, like chasing this, chasing that, chasing like just figure out what you want to do, the returns you want to make, and then go get it.
Yeah.
Cares
I
if
get
it's
so many that are like, hey, look, I want to do long term hold. And then they switch to, hey, I want to do Airbnb. And hey, I want to do commercial. Look, you're going to be chasing too many things. It's okay to do it, but make sure you know what you're doing before you get into it.
yeah. No. I agree, man. That's I think I'm gonna make shirts, bro. I'm gonna make the buy box. Find the buy
Just
box.
make sure.
I'll don't worry, I'll put you in there, bro. Don't worry, I got you, man. I got you. I love it. I love it. Yeah, man. What else? What else is going on in the U.S.? I guess talk about the renos. I guess what's that process look like? What are some of the hurdles with renos in the U.S.? Like we're obviously renovating Canada and stuff like that, but maybe we get some of the differences that happen out there. Where is it tough? Is it tough to find trades, material costs? Kind of just touch on all of those sort of topics.
I don't think trades as much as material costs are beating you up. Interest rates, we have high interest rates, which I'm not sure what you guys are. Ours are about like we're at 7, which is prime. So if you go to do construction and you got a construction budget or construction loan, you're looking at like a 10%, maybe 9% on construction loan. I think 10 would be fairer. So you have higher costs to build right now, especially out the ground, or if you're doing renovation, you have some higher carrying costs. Um, Finding skilled contractors and making sure you vet the contractor correctly is going to be crucial. I mean, you know about that. There's horror stories all through the world. So making sure you hire the right people. Um, and honestly, the biggest problem in the U.S. is just making sure you find the right deal. Like finding that deal. I mean, in my market, there's deals I'm getting them, but just finding a deal, right? I need to execute on it.
Yeah. Um, what reno strategies like work out there, or is it, or you got a mix of everything and you just kind of like depending on your deal, or is one
Yeah.
better
So it
than?
depends. It
But
depends on the deal, and so this is one thing I teach my students too. When you go into a project, know what type of rental you're going to do on it. Like if I'm buying in that C neighborhood, I'm not going to do an A class rental. It just wouldn't make sense. If depending on the tenant and the rents I can get, you got to have a certain percentage of that. I'm not going to renovate a property and spend 100K on it on a reno if I'm only going to make 200 a month, 300. It just doesn't make sense. So make whatever renovation you're gonna do, especially let's think if you like fix and flip or something like that,
yeah,
right? You have to keep your rental budget tight. You got to make sure like, hey, there's enough once this project is done that it'll be some exit strategy for me. So I think that's pretty important.
and so most of the stuff you're doing is like single family home type stuff, right? Do you get into building work yet, or?
So I do. So I'm actually doing multifamily. I've taken over a lot of multifamily. I have single family in my portfolio. I got multifamily. I got commercial real estate, mixed use. I'm actually working on a development project right now where we're doing ground up construction. So I have a full tool bag of tools. Um, my favorite is mixed use right now. In the U.S., the mom and pop shops are, I mean, they're coming. They're here. So we're supporting development in our local area, by putting in those mom and pop shops in, and we're also providing housing. So you can hit both.
Do you do any self storage? There's a couple guys I know that love self storage in the U.S.
A different asset class. I try not to. Um, I try to stick specifically to the housing. I
Yeah.
like commercial, but my forte is that mixed use with the housing above. Self storage is good. I think they say it's like recession proof. It's a great cash business, but the thing with self storage is a business, right? If you guys ever see me wear this shirt, it's freedom. I bought back my time, man.
Yeah.
I go to work when I want to work. You know, I spend so much time with my family, and I've afforded that time to spend with my family. We go on vacation. We do what we want to do. That's why I got into this. So, you know, getting into self storage is a job, right?
Yeah, I
I
hear you.
teach. I don't want you to have your job. I want you to have more time. You know, some of my students, they want time freedom. Some of them want, you know, income freedom. They want to go to a place and not have to look at the menu and wonder like, hey, this is what this costs. That's the freedom I want. So when I designed my program, it was more of like, hey, I don't want you to have to take on another job. A storage units, it's just a hustle. It's a business. What happens if your guy calls off, or
Yeah, yeah,
there's just so many. You got to go auction off a unit, and I just don't want to deal with that, man. So
yeah.
that's how I always look.
Turnkey shit, right? Turnkey shit. Just set it and forget it
Yeah,
type stuff.
yeah, pretty much.
As much as you can control that, right? Like
Yeah.
there's always some work that's got to go into it. Um, so what got you started? Like, I know you said you were down on your luck, but what, or was it the
So
why?
um, at a certain point, I was working 3 jobs, going to school, right, and I was busting my behind, man, and I'm like, something's got to give. Something's got to give. And I finally started to make some money, started saving some money. And I'll never forget, I went to a bar with eight guys, 8 of my friends. And, they were lawyers, business owners. These guys were smarter than me. I always hung out with people that were smarter than me. And they started throwing out these terms like, hey, we should buy this property. We should rehab it. We should refinance it, pull the money back out, flip it back again. And I'm just listening. I'm like, what the hell are these guys talking about? I don't know, but I want in. And started digging into it. I'm like, man, this can get me freedom. I can produce, some cash. And when it was time to actually execute, every guy backed out. Nobody was willing to actually do the project. So at that point, I'm like, man, I've done so much research. I've done so much work. Let me try. And so I purchased that property that I just showed you. I purchased it, and I was like, man, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. But I did well with it. And, after the renovation was done, I was making $1,000 a month. And I had no debt on that property either. I didn't know anything about, leveraging. I had no debt on it. I had insurance. That was my only, I think my insurance was like $70 a month. It was such a bad neighborhood. But I had no debt on it. And, I'm netting $1,000 a month. I'm like, holy smokes, this is great. What if I did this again? So I did it again. And I found another property, 25,000, put 25,000 into it. Now I'm making $2,000. I'm like, man, if I do this 10 times, I'll make 10 grand a month.
Right, just take my money, bro. That's awesome, man.
And so it became, okay, now if I do this, 50 times, I can make 50 grand a month. You do it 100 times, you make 100,000 a month. And so that's where it started to become like, this is something that's real. Like, you can make real money on this, and if I put the systems in play, I can make it passive too.
No, man, that's how a lot of us got started, and it's good. It's so nice to get to hit that point. Like, I started, so I didn't start in real estate. I started in construction, but I was doing renos for a real estate investor.
Mm-hmm.
And that real estate investor bought his first property and we lost him.
Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm here.
yeah. So I had that real estate investor come in, and he bought his first property. It was 20-unit building. He asked me to renovate a unit. I finished the unit, and then he was like, "Hey, got another person moving out. Do you want to do the next one?" And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Wait a minute. I don't have to price this job again. I can do the same
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
after, right? Like, I just and then I just built my systems in my business around it. And every time he had a free unit, I was gonna do the renos, right? Like I started doing the renos myself, and then kind of like yourself, I would like sit there and I was just listening to what these guys were talking about. I was like working, but I was really paying attention to what they were doing.
Yeah.
And they were talking, like you're saying, they're talking about leveraging, they're talking, like refinancing, ARV, all this stuff. And I just started paying attention. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. This is something here. I'm doing a lot of work. I built this pretty significant size rental company. We do about 20, 30 units a month worth of turnovers for investors in the GTA. And I'm pumping all this volume and I'm making money. And I'm looking over and I look at my buddy. He's not doing any of the work and he's way wealthier than I am. And then that was like that light bulb moment. And I was like, okay, I got to pick up as much real estate as goddamn possible.
Yeah.
And that's how I started really acquiring assets myself. Um, but prior to that, I was just a business entrepreneur, and I was still make good money. It was just I had to work for that money every time. Right? I got to get that next job where you don't
Yeah.
really need that
I
next
think
house. That
the four quadrants, right? And
100%.
I don't know if you
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah. Of
you
course, of course.
yeah. So everybody wants to be an investor, right? That's where you get to. That's where you get the most tax benefits. That's where you find the freedom, the systems, everything works for you, right? And there's nothing wrong with being an entrepreneur. There's nothing wrong with having money coming from multiple sources, but the real money is made in the investments, right? Even as I mean, I invest not just in real estate, I invest in the companies too. I make money from that, but it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's the velocity. Right now, the money makes money for me at this point. That's the goal that we want to get to,
Yep.
where the money is just producing money for us, you know.
Yeah, no, and I love that term velocity because that's what when you start, when you start getting, more successful and wealthier now, it's like, okay, what do I do with this money? you know, sure, I could invest it in this. Even some of these long-term holds, they're like that turnover is slow, right? Like that money making money is slow. So having good velocity on your money is super important when you start getting into that money making money space. So I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Andrew had a question here. He said, "What tasks do you delegate, and what is your favorite part of the process?"
What tasks do I delegate as far as, I guess if you talk about the real estate
Yeah, I'm
aspect, right?
assuming real estate investing.
Let's talk about the tasks that I delegate. So construction is something that I delegate, right? I have a lead guy in my system. So let me give you guys this tool too, right? When you get to a certain scale, do you have property managers in GTA, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You
of
guys have
course,
property.
yeah. Yeah. Hey, hey,
So what
we're not
happens?
we're not a one-trick pony town, okay? We got cars and we got transit system. I know the economy is not like, there's money
All
in
right, so
Toronto. We have a Netflix studio, okay?
oh man, here we got real estate investors, right? Or not real estate investors, but property managers.
Yeah.
When you get to a certain scale, you bring your property management in house, right? And we'll talk about that. But property managers typically going to be about 8 to 10%, right?
Yep.
So when that's your gross rent. So when we're looking at deals or the amount of revenue, let's say like I bring in, let's just say for example, I'm bringing in 150,000, right? When we talk about taking 10%, that's 15,000. I am outsourcing and paying a company, right? So I bring that stuff in house. So I have property management in house, right?
Yep.
I have maintenance in house. So those are some of the things that and systems that I've built that are in house that I can just delegate, right? When I look for, I have a guy who does my, if I find a deal, and I stick to the acquisitions. I like to find the deals, vet them. But when I need, the financing done, I have a guy that I source the financing out on my team. I don't want to deal with bankers. I don't want to deal with lenders, right?
Yeah.
Hey, look, I have the money. Buy this. Let's get it done. He knows, hey, this is our buy box. This is what we're buying for. Hey, this is our price. So some of that stuff I outsource. The biggest thing I like to stick with is the acquisitions part. It's just my favorite, right? And that's part of being free too. I do the part of the job that I want to do, right? So, what was the second question on that?
Just and what's your favorite part of the process? Which I'm going to assume is the
Oh,
buy.
yeah, acquisition. I actually enjoy really the property management side of overhead too, because I'm more about community. When you get to a certain extent, you make money, you continue making money. I love finding deals. That's like my hunt, right? That keeps me young. It's like, you might have a thrill seeker who likes to jump out of a plane. Like finding a good deal, it like makes my day. I'll jump up at the computer and like I hit like Kobe hit a three.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
feel like that, you
No,
know.
I feel you, man. I feel you.
Yeah,
I'm an efficiency
or-
person. I'm an efficiency person. I love to just take things and make them more efficient, like
mhm,
whatever it is. So like even with my reno company, right? You know, we at one point were outsourcing plumbing guys, right? And then we were like, okay, now you know what? I'm looking at the numbers. I'm like, man, we're
make it
spending, yeah. And then it's like, I just start moving. Which piece makes sense to move in house and which one doesn't, right? And then not even just bringing it in house, because bringing it in house is one thing, but if I bring it in house, how much more efficient am I going to be? Because
uh,
sometimes I'm like, you're at the mercy of your plumber, you're at the mercy of your electrician. It's their schedule. But when
yeah,
you're in control of the schedule, you can line things up and be more efficient, and that's what like
yeah.
drives me. But that's cool, man. That's freaking incredible. What did Audrey say? Key to successful real estate investor is an efficient team. Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I agree. I actually I went to school for industrial engineering, which is pretty much making processes more efficient. That is all they do.
yeah,
So
it's cool. Yeah, like we're like sometimes we're at the cabinet shop, and I just go. I always when I come to the cabinet shop, I'll walk through the back, and I'm just paying attention to what the guys are doing. Where are the like who like where are these like ants like moving back and forth, back and forth. I'm like, how can I cut the back and forth, right? Like they shouldn't be moving back and forth. They should just be producing. And I'm always looking at all the different ways I can like rearrange my production manager hates me. I'm like, yo man, what if we move this over here? What do you think, man? And he's like, dude, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, but like, look, he's gonna be way more efficient. He's like, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. So it's interesting.
hmm
That like for me, I look at stuff and that drives me. That like I'm looking at everything. I'm like, oh, how can I make this better? I'm always like, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm always trying to make things better. Um,
yeah,
which is why I'm doing this stuff, right? I think real estate investing could be better. It should be free. You don't need to pay millions of dollars to learn until you're ready to learn, right? Like I believe in coaching and mentorship. I think it's important, but like I don't believe it should be like your hurdle into real estate investing, right? You should be
yeah,
able to like learn, get your feet wet, have a good understanding, and then pick and choose what you need in order to succeed, right? Because everybody's different. This whole like I'm the mentor. Like some people don't need a coach, or some people just need to know what the really good books are. And everybody's different. Some people just need this, right? Like just you and I talking about different real
yeah,
estate investor problems or issues or in different areas, that might help a lot of people, right? Everybody's different, and that's what I don't like about kind of the community is very like mentor mentee when it shouldn't be there. It should be everybody learns differently, right? Like I'm a type of
yeah,
person that I need to do it once and then that's it. I'm good. I don't need you to like I could read a book, but I'll never learn it.
yeah.
Terrible at
And
it.
you got to somebody that just aligns with your style, right? Like
Yeah.
I've had done mentorships where I'm like, man, why the hell did I buy this? Like this guy's not even in line with what I want to do. So find somebody that aligns with your style, or that's living the life that you want to live, to figure out, hey, how can I get to that?
Yeah, that's an important point. I've seen it, man. I'm watching these kind of like I've seen these coaches that they just finished their first house or their second house and they're out there coaching part of coaching programs and I'm like, man,
Dangerous. That's
I
dangerous, man. Cool.
like I would like to talk to them, but I would definitely not want them learning how to coach right through on my dollar.
Yeah,
That'd be the worst. Um,
yeah.
Andrew had another question here. He said, "What's the best lesson you learned after making a mistake while investing?"
Mm, best lesson. Um, I don't know, man. It's been a ton of lessons on a journey. Um, One, making sure that you're liquid, right? I've seen a lot of guys, and not particularly me. I haven't had liquidity issues, but I've seen guys have to sell their assets because they weren't liquid enough, and they had something else come up. So making sure that you're liquid. Equity is just paper money,
Yep.
right? And there are mentors that just teach, hey, look, you want equity, 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 but equity don't mean nothing if you can't tap into it,
Especially in
right?
today's environment with interest rates going through the roof and like everything tightening up, right? Like
It means nothing,
if
right?
your
It's
paper,
great. It'll help to be your net worth, but you got to sell a damn property to tap into that. So what's the point?
yep, no, agreed.
If you really have that wealth, you got to have some type of liquidity too, especially when we're talking about large scale. You know, we got single family, even in a single family house. You know, if you're buying something 300,000 400,000, you got to have liquidity for when that water heater breaks. When that you know, and you might think, okay, water tank. I just did a new build. The water tank was no good. We had to pay to have the new water tank. Now, say I didn't have the liquidity to do that, I'd be in trouble. Tenants wouldn't have hot water.
Yep.
You know, having that liquidity is very important. I think that's kind of like one of the key lessons and takeaways, especially in today's market. Everybody's preaching like appreciation, and the thing is, you can't tap into appreciation as fast as you think. You might mess up your interest rate. Some people, you know, in the U.S., I'm not sure about you guys, but we got fixed debt, 30-year fixed debt, right? So I know people with interest rates. I got an interest rate of like a 2.9%, right? Fixed for 30 years. I'm never going to refi out of that. The only reason I refi out of that if I have an equity crisis, right? Or I need liquidity. So then I got to refi. Then I mess up my whole, my whole loan amount. So
Yeah. No, out here we do well right now, like for a lot of the single family and stuff like that, it's every 5 years, right?
5 year, yeah, you guys have 5 year terms, yeah.
Yeah, 3 to 5 years. So
And so that's so tough for not only investors but homeowners, right? Like, okay, well, I mean, even if you buy a house right now, I mean, the interest rate could go up. It could go up. So you think it's like, okay, now we're out of the woods. It could go up even more. We got political stress. I'm sure you guys have some political. We got a presidency. Oh, geez, we got an election going on here. Um, so I'm gonna see how that affects. But we got geopolitical things happening. You know that affect interest rates, affect trade. So they all play a part.
no,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah, especially especially the stuff that's happening, all the geopolitical stuff, right? Like it's pretty warm out there. There's some pushing going on between countries. It's getting pretty dicey. I was in the military for 16 years in the Canadian Army, so I see stuff that's happening, man. It's pretty scary shit, to be honest.
and, I mean, then we talk about um, you guys can't fix your debt, so you don't even know what your payment's gonna be in the next 5 years.
No, it's scary.
Some people are coming up on those refinance period times right now. They may lose their house, right?
Yeah,
You then
I think the next I think this quarter or the next quarter, I think it's gonna be like 70% of like all mortgages are gonna come up. And like
yeah.
even some of these
And
big banks are like, yeah, some because we only have like six big banks. That's it. Like we don't like we have our big six and that's it. And they hold the majority of this debt. So some of these banks are might be even in crisis, right? Like if all a lot of these start to default, it's gonna be crazy, man.
yeah. And so that's when investors, that's what we should be looking for. There are a lot of people who have saved up, have their war chest ready. They just sitting on the sideline, they waiting to gobble up. My war chest is ready. I've been waiting for property right now.
Yeah.
You know. Um, but then I guess the other issue too would be investing. I say for you guys would be um, you can't raise your rents.
Yeah. Some in some provinces, yeah. In Toronto
You
for
got
sure you
rent,
can't.
you got rent control. How can you make money with rent control? There's no incentive at that point as an investor.
I mean, our rents are pretty high. I mean, we rely a lot on gentrification, right? Like turnovers and stuff like that. But honestly, it's changed a lot. But now they're adding rules, right? Like anything after 2018, I think, isn't rent controlled. So if it's built prior to 2018, it's rent controlled, and if it not, right, it's to encourage newer stuff. Um, but yeah, it's tough, man. Like people, some tenants out here, and especially in the GTA, especially with like social media and stuff like that, we have some professionals, man. Like we have professional investors and we have professional tenants that like I was doing a building for a client. The whole building basically unionized against us. And they called the city, they called the fire department, they called the Ministry of Trades, they called like health and safety. There was always somebody there every single day, and we had to implement all of this craziness. But just because it wasn't the same, if the same person calls, it becomes a nuisance call, and then the fire department's kind of onto it. They had like a rotational schedule between all of them, and they would have meetings, and they like they created a union, man, and it was so messed up.
Yeah.
It took my buddy so long to evict these.
Yeah, that just don't sound like a place I want to invest in.
Bring your
Yeah,
money.
as an investor,
Bring your money, Ray.
I'll,
Bring your money.
I'll hold off.
Um, yeah, it's tough in Ontario. In Alberta though, Alberta's a really hot province right now for Canada. It's really developing and there is no rent controls. It's a free market and a lot of people are buying out there. And then we have this financing program called MLI Select where you
I,
could
I
leverage,
heard about that. I was there. Yeah.
yeah, we could leverage 95% loan to value. I mean that puppy comes in pretty handy when you're doing developments or large
Mhm.
acquisitions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. What else you got? Ran out of questions. Fuck, this is a good conversation.
Yeah. If you guys have anything, drop it below. I know I got to get off here soon, so hopefully I can add as much value. I'll make sure to put my social media in the chat as well as my website in the chat. If you guys do have any questions, feel free to
No, we should get
make sure to.
you back on. Um, maybe when are you?
How about we do it live when I come speak in May?
Yeah,
Would
when
that be all right?
are you gonna be around in May? Like, are you gonna come early, or are you just coming in for the weekend? Are you coming in for the
I'll
week?
be there early. So I'll be there. I think the conference is on the 24th, so I'll be there maybe 2 days before.
Yeah, message me. I want to do. I think I want to do like a pre-party or something, like an in-person, like get together. So
Sure.
it'd be cool to have like a bunch of us there and get together like
I'm down.
the day before or 2 nights before, right? And kind of
Yeah.
get people to get personal and meet you and chat. Just it's
Yeah. Yeah, let me know the night before I can do it, or just let me know. I'll make sure to schedule it out.
all right. Okay, I think Edry's got another question coming in.
Sure.
Uh, what keeps you motivated and what keeps you pushing after already achieving so much success?
Oh man. One, what I do now, I love. Right. That's the biggest thing, man. This isn't work for me. Um, I retire. I'm 34. I retired when I was 30. Right. I had enough real estate to free me when I was 30. For me, it has been the thrill of finding deals. I love this. Um, I could have stopped doing this when I was 30, but it'd be selfish of me, right? I'm retired, but are my kids good? Are
Yeah.
my kids good? So right now I'm building more legacy than I am just it's more than just me. Right now I'm working on the development project. I'll share with you. I'm building about a 15 unit complex that will help house, displaced veterans, people with disabilities, and homeless.
Oh, it's
When
amazing.
people face, so at this point, there's a saying that once you develop or you have so much wealth, it becomes more about giving back. And I'm at the point right now in my career where I'm doing projects that actually add value to not just me and my bottom line, but to the community. So
Yeah,
seeing
no.
my community and see those people every time I drive out and they waving at me and they say, "Oh, thank you, Ray. I appreciate it. How's me checking up on them." And if you see my social media, I usually don't post it. I try to, but like I see all my tenants. My tenants know who I am. You know, I'm not far from them. I was one of them. You know,
Yeah.
and so me being able to help give back, that's my biggest motivation.
Yeah, no, it's funny, like even kind of like where I'm at, like people are like, like why do you do this or whatever? And I'm like, I don't, it's fun, man. I'm having fun. Like you said, right? Like once you build a certain amount of wealth, you're doing things that you love to do, kind of like how you hired out the pieces that you don't want to be doing, right? And then now you're just stuck in the piece that you love doing. And giving
Yeah.
back to the community is amazing, man. It's incredible. One of the property managers that I know, she does a course for tenants to help them get out of debt and buy their first house. And
Hmm.
that's something that they just offer as part of their property management program. They are trying to find tenants that they could eventually move into a house, right? We're like credit management, paying down debt, like proper budgeting. And she put together this course and they do that as part of their thing, and that's her thing. And it's like a nice way to give back because you're servicing both problems, right?
Yeah. That's amazing. If she ever needs any help or any value, just have her message me. I love to help in any way I can too.
No, man. Okay, awesome, dude. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you having the time for us, and yeah, it's really cool. I'm excited to see you again in May, and I'm sure we'll be chatting way more than you think.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll drop my stuff below. You guys have a good evening. All right. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ray. Take care, buddy.
Yep. Bye.
Damn. Now that was a topic and a half. My goodness. I like Ray. Good guy. Good dude. Really appreciate him.